So I want to thank you guys for coming by and checking out the video. Thank you so much for being here. I'm, as of today, celebrating 3 years as a full-time content creator, and I could not be happier. Newsy news. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, you beautiful YouTube Tarkovians. My name is Onepeg, and today BSG had a podcast for the first time in a long time. This video is going to serve as a podcast summary. The podcast lasted about an hour before Nikita said that they were out of time. I've got an awful lot to cover here because they gave us an awful lot in a real short amount of time. It looked as though Nikita was actually pretty relieved to be back and wanted to get through answering a lot of the questions that we still have outstanding in terms of the progress that the dev studio has been making. And before you ask, no, they didn't say anything about Ukraine or Russia's invasion of Ukraine or anything of the like. They can't. If they try to speak out against it, they go to jail. Them and their families are put at risk by the Russian government because even though somewhere in the laws it's written that they have freedom of speech, they don't. They themselves, their families, go to prison for 15 years for speaking out against the Russian government, and if it's loud and widespread enough, they get disappeared. So he's not going to say anything about it. Stop it. Channel your energy into something else. Take a walk, do something productive because it's just tired, guys. It's tired. Anyway, the very first thing up is that Demirka ended up redesigning the entire studio. For those of you that don't know, Demirka is this guy, the guy chilling in the background on every BSG podcast. He redesigned the entire studio, and instead of it looking like a bunker, it now looks like Terra Group Labs, which is awesome. I thought it looked great. From the blue barrels in the corners to the security cameras up on the wall, all of the little touches, and Demirka showing up in a lab coat, it was sweet. It was sweet. That looked amazing. Killer job. Absolutely killer job. Nikita then gave us updates and status of the team. He said that they've been working the entire time. They haven't changed anything with the work or load or progress at all since all of this stuff had started. And all they really care about right now is the game's development. At the beginning, there was also mention of Arena and Anti-Cheat. He said that Arena is currently in like a developmental stage where they're putting together, they have an idea for mock-ups for every level that they want to make. But right now, they're trying to fully construct one level so that they can work out the mechanics of how they want Arena to work. And they are hoping that they're going to be able to release something for Arena by the end of the year. Anytime that Nikita ends up saying hope, it ends up looking kind of grim in terms of timeline. I'm not sure if we'll actually end up seeing Arena by the end of this year. Obviously, the hope is there. But anytime that the devs have ever said something hopeful, it never ends up making that target date. He also said that they've had like 4 or 5 updates this week for the anti-cheat detection systems. It's a constant cat and mouse kind of chase in this situation. Cheat developers are constantly trying to get around anti-cheat, and they go back and forth. Hopefully, they end up kind of making a little bit more headway because there has been an awful lot of reporting of people cheating in Tarkov. Whether that is confirmation bias, I have no idea, but it is what it is. Okay, on to new stuff, and I have some really cool imagery for this. First up is the new gun, the Chiappa Rhino. Now, for those of you that haven't been around for the longest amount of time, a couple of years ago maybe, they ended up teasing the Chiappa Rhino, which is chambered in 357, and there's supposed to be 5 or 6 different variants. The primary difference between them is going to be the length of the gun barrel. You're going to have something that's very small and snub nose, and Nikita even said that the snub nose version is going to be just a single square, will be what it, I guess, entails, is just one single square. He also said that it will have a speed loader available, which is massive. That is huge. That will be the first time that we've ever seen any type of speed loader or speed loading mechanic or animation in this game to date. Hopefully, one day, maybe we'll even get stripper clips for the Mosin. Who knows? We did see a teaser of the 357 ammo. He showed us FMJ, JHP, and HP were what was listed. This is the first 357 that we've seen. Possibly we'll see more weapon systems also utilizing this ammunition, although 9x39 is only the VSS and VAL, so who knows what's going to happen. They also said that they have another announcement pending for Monday for stuff that they have planned, but they can't tell us about it just yet. He also said that they don't have the stats for the ammo finalized, but they gave us a preview of the Chiappa Rhino in action, which is what is playing in the background right now. Moving on from here, there was another DLSS mention, but this time we have a promo video. Actually, 2 promo videos. The first DLSS promo showed something that BSG had implemented where it's showing us different frame rate comparisons, and then one was a big NVIDIA promo that was like, it's back in Tarkov, boom, ba boom, boom. And there was a lot of like cool effects and like really neat sounds and everything. The primary takeaway from this is that the frame rates with having DLSS off versus on seem to give an awful lot of frames. I don't exactly know what system it was that they were running because they never mentioned system specs of any kind. But suffice to say, I'm definitely going to be putting Tarkov through its paces, and I will let you know what I think and what I see versus just leaving it on raw, especially considering that I've got the 3080 Ti and the 12900K and all of that stuff working for us. He did say that DLSS will be available between 1 and 1.5 weeks from now, and that AMD FSR will also be coming, but they didn't really have anything for AMD FSR other than like a UI interface screen cap of them showing that the menus existed. So hopefully more to come soon for AMD FSR for those of you using AMD machines. Then we went into like a bunch of cool content. The first up was MultiUse Tools for hideout crafting is being implemented soon. Now, for multi-use tools, what I mean is tools that can be used repeatedly. If you remember, you look in your hideout and there are tools like sewing kits, and there's going to be a video that's playing right here that's going to show you kind of like what I'm talking about. Tools like sewing kits, screwdrivers, the metal cutting scissors, like that kind of stuff that you would find, wrenches throughout the world. Those are kind of abundant, and they get consumed whenever it is that you craft something with them. BSG's intention is to have those be multiple use. You only have to find it once, and then you'll be able to use it repeatedly on the craft. So you'll need a tool of some type, depending on what it is that you're making, and then the consumable parts that go into making that item. But the tool is going to stay, and that's what this like animation or video here is depicting. Nikita did say because of this change that tools in the world will likely become much more rare, which makes sense. If you only have to find it once, what's the point of having an abundance of them? But that also means certain things like needing toolkits to be able to do that factory task, for instance, might end up being a bit of a challenge when you have to find wrenches and pliers and stuff to be able to barter for them, unless you're able to find them in toolboxes or something along those lines. But if I can say, just like on the outside, when they were showing the hideout in this video, dude, look at the artwork of the hideout. That looks amazing. Like the new fridge and like the tables and like all of this stuff looks so good. They modified the aesthetics of the hideout at its highest level by a considerable amount. It looks amazing. From here, he then took the idea of using multi-use tools and gave us this: weapon repair kits and armor repair kits. And the quality of the repair is good. Like, it's better than what you're going to end up pulling out of mechanic. It looked like the repair kits were doing like 95, 98% of the missing durability in repairs. Now, it was consuming a pretty good amount of the, I guess, durability of those kits in order to be able to repair your stuff, but it looked great. And Nikita did say that they're going to be rare to find, but you'll be able to repair your own items, so you're going to save on cost there, which also kind of coincides with this whole, like, they're jacking up the prices of armor and weapon repairs and stuff. They're really trying to put the money sinks in. He also said that on the back end, when you use these items to repair stuff, there will be buffs and bonuses provided for a short duration of time after you repair like a weapon, for instance. No word on what that's going to look like. But in addition to this, there was also a teaser that showed they're going to be modifying the weapon maintenance skill, and it actually showed in parentheses like what the maximum, I guess, benefit from having it leveled out is going to be, which is something that we haven't seen before. They never would tell us in advance, like, okay, well, yeah, this is going to be affected. The soft skill affects this thing, but here's what like the best possible outcome is when you've mastered it. So that's not something that we had seen before, but now we do. So we have this reworked weapon maintenance skill where it shows us that, we're getting slightly better durability repair, and we also have much better durability loss. He then went to dailies and showed an expansion of the daily system that's going to allow for multiple guns at once in order to complete a daily. In this case, he showed like you could complete it killing scavs with an SMG or a shotgun. So you can kind of mix and match the weapon systems instead of getting stuck having to use like just a 153 or just a Taz or whatever that was. Now it's going to be, okay, well, you can use like these two types of guns just to make it a little bit more accessible. Because I think the main complaint about the daily system has been you get too pigeonholed into something and you have a real problem in some cases of being able to complete them because you just don't have access to things that they want you to use. From here, then we talked about the Lighthouse expansion, and there was a promo video for this. And there's a couple of things here that I wanted to talk about that I found to be very, very interesting that also ties back to the thumbnail of this video, which is the Lighthouse Keeper pointing at something in the Lighthouse Keeper's hands. So we have this promo video that we're going through, and while this is playing, I'll just kind of go down the bullet points. Nikita said that there's also going to be new areas in the water treatment plant area. Now, for me, that makes it sound like there's going to be some underground potential here. Unless he also gives us the ability to get up on the roofs of the buildings, which I don't know why they wouldn't already have had that available to us. But from what it sounds like is there's going to be potentially some underground exploration, maybe like some drainage areas or something underneath the water treatment tanks, for instance. He also mentioned that there's going to be the new bosses, which we know will be coming. It won't be really soon, is what he said. So for me, this sounds like an end-of-year thing. I don't know if it's going to be a summer thing. 3 months for him not saying it's going to be really soon makes me kind of scratch my head. It could be they don't need a wipe, and it's like going to be just some intermediate thing. Maybe we'll see it in Q3. He also said that there's going to be the physical trader, which we knew was coming, and that is this image. That is the image for the thumbnail. That is this image right here, which is going to be our physical trader. He's calling him Lightkeeper, or I guess Lighthouse Keeper. He looks like an old Russian sailor. In this case, he said that you're going to have a specific item in order to be able to gain entry to talk to him, which we knew about from before. But the interesting thing about this that also ties back to the promo video, if we look at the cultist room, the quote-unquote cultist room, or rooms, I guess, because it looks like there's two separate ones, we have this new image of a hand with an eye on it. Right there, that is something that we haven't seen before. We've always seen like the squiggly like S's that have been there, or like lightning bolts or whatever they are on the wall, like scrolled on the wall. But we also have this hand with an eye in it now, and that is a new piece of symbolism that we have not seen up until this point. To me, this symbolism of the hand and eye is reminiscent of a couple of different things. One is Guillermo del Toro's movie Pan's Labyrinth that has Pale Man as the main monster type in it. Pale Man is an older, sagging skin type of monster, kind of looks like a really old man that devours children, is blind with the exception of the eyes that it has on the palms of its hands, and allows it to see if it holds the eyes up to its forehead. This is also reminiscent of a piece of Japanese mythos called a tenemi, which is a ghost demon of a man that was blinded and murdered. And then that man seeks vengeance on the populace around him. And if people get too close to this ghost demon spirit that uses its hands in front of its body to be able to see, because instead of having eyes on its face, it has eyes on the palms of its hands to guide itself around, it devours the bones of its victims. So I'm not sure if this has anything to do with those. It's just the first thing that kind of sprang to mind. It's interesting that this new piece of symbolism that is somehow cult-related shows up, and it's also interesting that this eye symbol is also on a necklace for the new trader. So maybe the Lighthouse Keeper's in the cult. But there's something else here that's even creepier. This looks harmless enough. Guy standing, looking out over the water, reminiscing. He's got his super culty necklace thing. And then we zoom in on this shadowy figure in the background in the glass. Yeah, there's something up here. That's creepy. From here, there was also another really, really awesome teaser, which is this video here, and that is a flare gun. He showed a flare gun that called in its very own airdrop. And what's even cooler about this is that on the way in, you can see the plane using flares to come in and then do a massive flaring with the drop coming out from it and landing next to where the PMC touched off the flare gun. It looked awesome. Even it pulling like this hard banking maneuver to turn, it just looked great. Nikita said that eventually these flare guns will have different types of flares and rounds with different types of effects. For now, we're going to get a singular flare that's going to give us an airdrop of mixed goods. But he did say, for instance, there would be different types of flares that would eventually give you different types of supply drops. So imagine if there's something that has a food-focused crate, or something that has something focused on armor or weapons or tech parts. I mean, the list goes on and on. That sounds so ridiculously cool that you could flag an airdrop coming into a level based on maybe like a color coding of the flare to tell the airdrop what type of drop that you want. I think that's amazing. Now, we did also say that if you and your buddies are planning on all going into one raid at once and trying to touch off multiple flares and get a whole bunch of crates delivered to you, that's not going to happen. It almost sounds as though it's going to be a once per raid kind of thing, maybe at maximum, where somebody will be able to use a flare, the drop comes in, and then after that, the flares aren't going to work anymore until you go into the next raid. That, I guess, seems fair. That seems like it could be very, very abused if not for a mechanic like that kind of limiting it. Now, before the podcast ended, Nikita did mention that he was going to show us images of some of the bosses that would be located on Lighthouse. However, he also ran out of time, so I don't know if they had a hard stop at 9 p.m. Moscow or if it's just something that they self-imposed, but he did say that on Monday they're going to have another one of these where they're going to give us some more content. So, I suppose we'll have to tune in then. That is everything that I think we have for the purpose of this podcast. So I want to thank you guys for coming by and checking out the video. Thank you so much for being here. I'm, as of today, celebrating 3 years as a full-time content creator, and I could not be happier. So thank you guys so much for spending your day's time with me. Thank you for lending me your eyeballs. I look forward to many more years to come, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Peace.